Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets. It feels like we just did a 2023-2024 wrap-up show, Jason, but here we are. The Guardians finished last week, or I guess this weekend. The Browns season is done, which means the Cavs are really the only show in town right now, and I can't believe it, but in about 15 minutes, the season tips off around the league, and tomorrow night, the Cavs tip off against the Toronto Raptors. So we're here to preview it all for you guys on this final 2024-2025 season preview edition of the Ultimate Cavs Show. How you doing tonight, Jason?
The Browns are still playing, you know. We still have 10 more weeks of Browns football.
It's a lot of weeks and a lot of losses.
It's a lot of funerals, so I'm glad we got something to distract us from all the dead bodies laying around Huntington Field.
The Cavs have a chance to, capture a decent audience here, and I mean that in the best positive way, considering the whatever you want to call a situation happening in Berea right now with the dysfunction. The Guardians having a terrific season coming to an end. Now, I think this Cavs team is going to be a lot of fun. Are they going to be championship contenders? I don't know, but I think it's going to be a really fun regular season team to watch. And I think some casual fans, because of their disinterest in what's going on Sundays, is going to pan over and lead to a little resurgence in the thirst for Cavs content throughout the first couple months of the season.
Yeah, normally nobody really pays attention until Christmas is about when NBA kicks in as the NFL season winds down. You might be right. It might be significantly earlier here in Cleveland because the Cavs have a good team. I hope for their sake it is. I hope interest is peak early or is high early. I think people will be curious to see what a Kenny Atkinson team looks like compared to the JB team. I think it is going to be vastly different on offense. And I'm curious to get a look at it. And they're home Friday, right? Open on the road, obviously, tomorrow. Yeah. And then I think they're home Friday, right? Against who they play? The Knicks?
No, the Pistons. JB Bickerstaff.
And that's right.
And their first home game is a reunion and a homecoming for our guy, JB. And I'm curious. I was talking to a Cavs coach last week, and he asked me what I thought the reaction will be from the crowd for JB Bickerstaff. You think they'll boo him?
No.
And I was like, there'll be a few fans that boo, but they would boo any coach. I mean, listen, JB wasn't great, but he certainly wasn't the only issue over the last couple of seasons. They won a ton of regular season games. And if there's people out there booing JB Bickerstaff, you got to find something better to spend your time on.
They're the people who are booing Deshaun.
Yeah.
No, they will give JB a polite round of applause, as they should. Let's have JB walked in a really bad situation when he took over, and he really lifted them out of the mud and put this thing where it is today. So Cavs fans should have nothing but appreciation for JB and the job that he did. And now you see, like I said earlier, I think the ideal, right, is that you keep the defensive principles and tenacity that you had and marry it with a little bit more refined offensive system. It never really goes that way. I think you will see a step back, maybe two steps back defensively under Kenny, but the hope is that you make it up on the offensive end. A little bit more scoring, a little bit easier scoring, getting easier shots, getting easier looks, and obviously Evan Mobley being the big factor that everyone I think is curious to see moving forward.
Yeah, we'll get to Mobley in a sec. Let's start with the Max Strus news, though, Jason. Yeah. He's going to miss the first month, maybe 6 weeks of the season. It came out that he stepped on a trainer's foot during a individual workout, and that's going to keep him out for a extended period of time to start the year. You'd rather have him miss 6 weeks now than later in the season. So if it's going to happen, obviously you don't wish injuries upon anyone, but this is the right time for an injury like that to happen. It'll give Kenny Atkinson a chance to shuffle his rotation, give some guys some minutes early on to see maybe what they have or don't have in some of these young contributors. But do you expect Dean Wade to take that starting 3 spot, Jason? And how much of an impact will not having Max Strus be for the early start of the 2024-2025 campaign for these Cavs?
I think it hurts that they just don't have all their guys. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a long while before, they have any sort of rhythm and chemistry. But I do think it'll be Dean Wade, and just the fact that it'll be Dean Wade over Isaac Okoro kind of it illustrates what we were just talking about, the mindset shift with this team from defense to offense. If it's a defensive minded team, for years, Isaac Okoro was the starting 3 and Dean Wade came off the bench. And now that's been flipped where an injury creates the opportunity to do that again and to have Isaac at the 3 and bring Dean off the bench. Because I'm curious to see how much size they have off the bench without with Dean in the starting lineup. They're going to be a little small coming, with the reserves. But, it's October. They got time to figure that out. But just the fact that someone who can stretch the floor, another person who's going to shoot threes, space the floor, kind of tells you the mindset of this team right away.
I think Dean Wade's the right choice. I don't love it, though. They have no front court depth whatsoever at all. None, zero, zilch, which means you're going to have to stagger Dean Wade's minutes with one of the bigs and then maybe Dean Wade's minutes with the next big, and he's going to end up playing a ton of minutes. And I don't fully trust Dean Wade's stability over an 82-game season, and we've seen him be hurt for the last 2 playoffs. So he's another guy I kind of want to coddle till April, essentially till when you fully need Dean Wade to unlock some of that lineup versatility. And I'm not sure this minute load early on. Listen, maybe he's 100% healthy all season. Who the heck knows? But the track record shows he's prone to catch a random injury here and there. But I don't really know what the other option is. You can't play Isaac Okoro with that double big lineup because there's no shooting. And trust me, Kenny Atkinson has told me, Jason, he's told you, he's told everyone he could find a microphone holding that they're going to shoot a ton of threes this year. And if you're going to shoot a ton of threes, that means you have to make threes. And if you have Jarrett, Isaac, and Evan on the floor at the same time, there's just not enough volume shooters that the defense has to respect. So I thought maybe they go LeVert, but I think he wants LeVert being the primary ball handler on the second unit. I think Jaylon Tyson's going to get a lot of run early in that spot, Jason. He gives them the most flexibility in terms of size, strength, athleticism, just to see what you have from the rookie early on. Sam Merrill, on paper, fills the Max Strus role offensively the most closely, but I don't think you can play for significant minutes a 3-guard lineup of Mitchell, Darius, and Merrill, no matter how good, unless you have Wemby and Mobley back there. Like you can't. And Jared Allen's a good defender, but he's not Victor Wembanyama. So it's a weird position for the Cavs to be in because although Max Strus is their 5th most important starter, he's kind of irreplaceable in what he does offensively and his role in what they want to run. And I just don't know. We've been itching to see what this Kenny Atkinson offense is going to look like. We're not going to get to see the full deck of cards until someone like Max Strus is back in there. And that's the major disappointment in the timing of this injury news.
We haven't talked about this, not even off air. Not much, at least. If the ball's going to be in Evan's hands, and it looks like it is, who is it leaving? Who do you think they're taking it out of? They take it out of Darius's hands? They take it out because I don't think you can put the ball in 3 guys' hands. Am I nuts?
By the end of the season, maybe Mobley's all right, let's do a pie chart, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In an ideal world, because you're right, having 3 creators
doesn't work.
It doesn't really work. Now you could get creative and have Darius initiate an offense, get the ball to Mobley, then have Darius an off-ball action or Donovan, whatever, and run it through Mobley that way.
Let me make a small caveat before you go.
Okay.
Part of what go back to the great Cavs Warriors matchups during the glory years. One of the things that they loved about that the Cavs really admired and loved about the Warriors was how many different guys they had who could dribble, pass, and shoot. Yeah. It made them so dangerous and so difficult to defend. So you want having 3 guys. If you have 3 guys who can dribble, pass, and shoot, and I don't know how much Evan's going to be putting the ball on the floor and creating, but
it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, the more guys who can do it is good, but that doesn't mean Draymond is initiating every time down for Golden State.
I mean, look at OKC. They built their entire roster around guys who can dribble, pass, shoot, and they wanted the flexibility. That's why they took Chet Holmgren where they did, because he's a 5 that can put it on the floor, can shoot, defense, protect the rim. To answer your question, I think in a perfect world, if I'm dividing a pie chart, it's probably 40% Donovan, 30% Darius, 25% Evan, and then the rest is sprinkled throughout whatever these random offsets. So what's that, 10%?
5. You got 5%.
Yeah. So I think for the most part, but I think it's going to come out of Darius's hand a little bit. Kenny told us he wants Darius shooting 8-9 threes a game, and he wants at least half of those to be catch and shoots. So if he's going to be taking catch and shoots, that means the ball's not in his hands.
Right.
And I think him and Donovan both can run off-ball action. I think they're both probably better with the ball in their hand. But when they brought Donovan in, Jason, you were the first one to tell me, the Cavs have the numbers to prove, or at least they think they can prove that Darius can play off ball. And if Darius can play off ball, that allows more opportunities for Evan to be the ball play or the ball handler and let Darius kind of roam free on the perimeter, come off screens, and make teams pay.
Darius has to be comfortable doing it. I haven't seen it with the eye test as much as they say the numbers back it up. We'll see. But I have to say, like, it looked just watching that team go. And again, it's hard to compare last year to this year because it's going to be completely different systems. But last year they functioned very well with the ball in Donovan's hands at a high.
Yeah,
high
you can't take
level.
it out of his hand. You can't.
Yeah,
he's their best player.
Yeah,
he doesn't sacrifice.
It has to start with him. I would even put him up at like 50. You had him at 40. I'd even put him at 50 or 55, whatever. But I am curious to see the breakdown between the other two, between Evan and Darius, and it'll probably be between Evan and Darius. It'll probably be a work in progress. It may be different percentages every night. I don't know. It'll be the same formula every night, but I'm curious to see what it looks like, because it's one thing that we've all wanted to see for quite a while. I think is Evan initiating, Evan at the wheel, at the hub, whatever you want to call it. I've been screaming for years, give him the first touch every time down. Does the first touch every time down solve everything? No, of course not. But it gets him an early rhythm. It lets him know what to expect. It lets him know he's getting a look early, and it activates guys, and it gets them more into the rhythm. And I never understood why that could never be a thing previously. I have a feeling it might be a little bit more that way going forward.
I wouldn't mind it. He got the first shot in the first preseason game. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get the first shot tomorrow night as well, Jason. It feels like Kenny, coming from the Brooklyn system and the Golden State system and his time in LA, like, he understands you have to force feed some of these guys to get them involved. And I think Evan's a guy that this year they want to be more aggressive, but sometimes that just doesn't come naturally for guys. I told the story on a show last week when I played at Emerson. We had a guy, John Goldberg, who was an All-American in D3. He should have been an All-American D1. He was too passive. He coaches at Clemson now. He should have scored 6'5", athletic, should have scored 25 points a game. He scored 12 because he didn't like to shoot. He wanted to pass. He was just – so we used to have a drill where he was the only one who was allowed to shoot. And if he didn't shoot, everyone had to run but him. He had to watch this run. And it killed him. It killed him. And he still, despite the fact that he was the only one allowed to shoot, we had to run offense. Like, we had to legitimately play. Just no one could shoot but G. And he would still, like, make dump-off passes because it was the right basketball play. And our coach, who coached Michael Redd, coached Bill Kerr, like, national coach of the year in 1999 at Ohio State. It's like, John, you have to shoot the effing ball. Like, we're not going to be good enough if you only score 12 points. Like, we can't beat the best teams if you're scoring like that. I feel like that's what they kind of have to do with Evan, where I don't know how you light the fire under his butt to get him to where you need him to be, or at least get him in the mindset that could unlock the parts of his game that we haven't seen yet. But they have to do something, because if Evan Mobley's not aggressive and he's just a third option, he's not a good enough offensive decoy as a third option. Like, Darius could be a decoy as a third option. Donovan's way too good. And obviously it would be an incredible decoy, but that's not possible for him.
It's not decoy.
Evan Mobley, if he's a decoy, he's just going to be standing there. They're not going to guard him unless he proves everyone wrong. Right. And I'm curious to see how quickly that kind of mindset is unlocked. And is he comfortable? It's one thing to do it in practice, Jason. It's another thing to actually do it in a game.
I saw a clip of Kevin Garnett talking about Mobley on a podcast. Did you send that to me?
I did.
And it fell, and it was spot on, where Kevin was saying he wants Evan to be more demonstrative. He wants to demand the ball, like, demand you give me the ball right now, or there's going to be a problem.
I'll fight you.
And the Cavs have wanted that out of him for years. And I don't know what the secret is. That's just not his personality. And part of the reason Tristan was here was to try and bring more fire out of Evan and try and bring more tenacity. Is not the right word, because I think he's a tenacious player, particularly on the defensive end, but more emotion, more aggression, all of that. And they just haven't been able to find the right code for that up to this point. And I'll be curious to see if that changes this year. And if, because they have not hid the fact that they're going to make him a focal point, because they're really putting it on him. Like Kenny has said over and over and over again, Evan. Well, what that's doing is that's putting pressure on Evan, which is a good thing. He needs to have some pressure on him. This is year 3. Like, it's time to go, dude.
Year 4.
4. I'm sorry. You're right. It's year 4. it's time to go, dude. Like it's now. You got to go. So I like it. I like the fact that they're not running from this, that they're not hiding from this. Kenny knows why he's here. And now let's see if he can do it.
It all falls into place if Evan's more aggressive. How do you generate more 3-point looks? You go inside and you kick it out. How do you go inside? Let Evan Mobley be the fulcrum at the high point. Run cross actions off him. How do you shoot more threes? Evan Mobley shoots more threes. As a team, like how do you get more 3-point attempts? Evan Mobley goes from shooting 2 or 3 a game to 4 or 5 a game. He's not going to shoot 8 or 9 this year. He's not making that kind of jump. But he can go from 1 or 2 to 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. I think 5 is the good number. That's kind of the sweet spot where I want him to be at. The guards can be more aggressive. And the thing is, too, if you have guys that shoot, and it's shooting 40% on 3 on 2.5 attempts per game means nothing. When the volume's that low, the percentage means nothing. They're going to let you shoot it. It means nothing. You have to have volume to match the percentage. And sometimes your percentage can be a little lower, but if teams know you're willing to actually let it fly, they have to guard you more closely than they would a guy who doesn't shoot. And even if Evan, his percentage is in the low 30s this year, if he's taking 4 or 5 a game, well, they're going to be a little quicker to close out on him because they know he's willing to pull that. And if they do, that then opens up so much backside action for the other guys, Jason. It's not all on Evan. Just I feel like I have to say this every time. Like the Browns' offensive struggles weren't all on Deshaun Watson.
Right.
You have to caveat it every time you say it because if you don't, people get mad. The Cavs' success in 2024-25, and we'll talk about their win total, their ceiling in a sec. It's not all on Evan Mobley. A lot of it is on Evan Mobley. Like let's be clear here. It's not all on his shoulders, but the Cavs, if they want to reach their ceiling, nobody has to make a bigger jump from last year to this year than number 4 in the middle.
I agree. And it just felt like the Cavs were so pick and roll heavy. It was always come down and run pick and roll, run pick and roll, run pick and roll, run pick and roll. And it was like, God, is there something else there? Is there something else we can get to? How about a dribble handoff every once in a while? Like just give me something different. And I do think that we will see that now. I do think that you will see a little bit more variation. A little bit more creativity in some of the sets that they run rather than just come down every time and just run pick and roll and freelance and see who's open. And there is a time for that, particularly during the regular season. There's plenty of time to do that. But it just felt like it was opportunities during the regular season where they could have worked on stuff and create stuff to have ready to go in the postseason. It just didn't feel like that happened enough.
I'll go a step further. I guarantee it looks drastically different. And part of the reason is they're going to not walk the ball up the court and start their initial offensive set with 14 seconds in the shot clock. And if that first action isn't there, well, you have 9 seconds. Okay, we're just going to back up and run pick and roll because you can't run through the whole offense again in 8 seconds.
Right.
Kenny Atkinson made it a priority, and you could see it in the preseason. I haven't watched every preseason game, but any glimpse, they ranked in the top 5 in the league in pace in the preseason. It's preseason. Grain of salt, I get it. 100% doesn't mean everything. Did you ever see a JV Bickerstaff in the top 10 in pace? How about top 15?
I mean, Darius got a backcourt violation in a playoff game.
Yeah, so it's just a complete different philosophy, and the difference, and this is and this is something that you may not pick up upon unless you kind of know what's happening. It takes 6 to 9 seconds for most offensive sets to run through and get your option A and your option B. Well, if you start your offensive set with 14 or 15 seconds on the shot clock because you walk it up, you really get one run through and that's it. You don't have to sprint up the court, but if you get into that action with 18 seconds on the shot clock, it makes a 2-second difference. Well, when it doesn't work, you have 10. You still have time to run through something else as opposed to then pulling it back out. And offensive sets in basketball, they're not strict. It's not like a play call in football. You have a certain look. Players make reads. It's not so scripted where I have to dribble, hand off to Evan. Evan's going to take 2 dribbles, pivot back, throw it to Donovan. Oh, go set a back screen. Oh, he didn't roll. Okay, it's not that regimented, but it's designed to create a look and designed to create a certain read. And that's where guys like Donovan and Darius and hopefully Evan can thrive in where, okay, we have the defense set up how we want. Now it's my turn to make a read, and either I go one-on-one and attack my defender, or I see he's lagging on the backside. I know Max is coming off a double screen on the back. He ain't going to be able to get there. That's the easy pass for an open 3. So it's just little things like pace and how quickly they get into the flow of their offense, which is going to open up so many more, I think, high-quality shot opportunities for not just the stars, but frankly, everyone on the roster.
Yeah. I'm excited to get it going. I'm excited to see what it looks like. And we'll get a first look at it tomorrow night and then Friday at home.
And then the Lakers come on Wednesday next week in LeBron's one trip to Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there.
I'll be
I have
there.
something. I don't remember what I have, but I have something that night. Oh, I think it's my daughter's cheer banquet or something.
LeBron's going to be so upset that Jason Lloyd's not in the building for
that.
Jason, the Vegas win total for the Cavs is set at 48.5. And I'm going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
I'm going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not lying. Of all the bets on FanDuel in terms of the over-under in terms of wins, and I looked at all of them. I love looking at the preseason win totals.
Yeah.
I think it's my second favorite on the entire board. I would take the over. I feel extremely confident in the over. They won 48 games last year with essentially everyone in their core four missing a significant chunk of time outside of Jared Allen. You had a season from hell from Darius Garland. Evan didn't take the colossal leap we wanted. Donovan Mitchell, the entire backstretch, barely played in the regular season to finish the year, and they still won 48 games. I'm just counting on a couple things to happen, and I like the new head coach. I don't think they win 60 games by any means, but 48, you're telling me they're not going to be one game better with most of these guys coming into the season healthy? I'm not buying it. Give me the over, and I feel pretty darn confident in that.
Yeah, it feels a little. It feels low, and the East is going to be good. We know that. We know the East is loaded. To me, the Cavs are at best the third best team, and that's if everything goes right. Maybe they're 4 or 5, a little bit more realistically, just based on how they approach the regular season. But I would take the over on that. I think I agree with you. What's the one you like better? Is there one you like better?
Yeah, Phoenix is 47.5. I love the Phoenix over. Now, that's the Kevin Durant injury waiting to happen. As soon as I say that, he's going to pull his calf or whatever. But that team, similar to the Cavs, had the season from hell. They fired a coach. I think Budenholzer's a really good regular season coach. I don't think the Suns can make any noise in the playoffs. But to win regular season games in the West with Durant and Booker coming off what they did in the Olympics, those two guys with Bradley Beal, they got Tyus Jones. I like the Budenholzer upgrade. I think over 47.5 for them is a lock too. But the Cavs is my second favorite of the group.
When you're talking win totals, you have to. I'm just curious. I'm putting you on the spot. Do you know Boston's?
I took the under on Boston's was like 57.5 or 58.5.
Okay. All right.
I took the under.
When you're talking regular season win totals, you have to factor in how much the regular season matters to these teams. The regular season doesn't matter to Boston. So I think that's I think you called that right. I don't think the regular season matters to Milwaukee. I think the regular season very much matters to Orlando. What's funny is we don't even talk about the Pacers. Like, they make the conference finals and nobody talks about the Pacers. Nope. And Philly, I don't think the regular season matters to Philly. I know they've got
Embiid's not playing tonight. Don't tell me it matters. Embiid's a healthy scratch tonight.
That's what I'm saying. When you add key pieces like they've added, you would logically say the regular season matters because you need to get these guys to play together.
They just need Embiid healthy in the playoffs. That's all that matters.
They're a veteran injury riddled team. I don't like Philly. I've never liked Philly. I tell you every year I'm out on Philly because I think Embiid's a dog. So I just have no. I would put Milwaukee and Boston above the Cavs for sure. And a lot of people would put Philly above them too. And I can't necessarily dispute it. I just don't like Philly. And maybe some people would take Milwaukee out of that and think the Cavs are better. I don't. I think as long as you got Giannis, give me that team. And I'm not talking regular season. I'm talking postseason.
Yeah.
I don't care about the regular season either. But I'm talking postseason. You got Giannis. You got the advantage.
Well, you mentioned win totals, teams not. Do you think the Cavs care about the regular season? Because I think they do.
I do. Yeah, that's where I was going. I was getting long-winded, but I do think the Cavs care about the regular season because they have a new coach and they're trying to figure out if this style works or not, because they're still trying to figure out if the front court works. They're still trying to figure out if the back court works.
Yeah.
And there are changes that they could make prior to the deadline if they get the answer, if they don't get the answer they want. But in order to do that, you have to take these games seriously and you have to play hard and you have to see what this looks like. So I do think that they will be a team that takes the regular season very seriously. That was one of the traits of JB when they first started turning the corner, was he got these guys to play so hard every night. We've talked about it before. I've written about it plenty. They would steal 3 or 4 wins every season just because you play harder than the other team. Teams play hard for 9 or 10 minutes, 11 or 12 minutes, spread over 4 quarters, spread over 3 quarters, and that's it.
Yeah.
And those early Cavs teams played really, really hard. I don't know if this team is going to play as hard as those early teams did, but I do think that they will take the regular season very seriously.
And that's why I like the over. I agree. They're the third or fourth team in the East on paper. Health plays such a big factor. Like New York could be decimated by injuries, and they go from 2 in my book to like 9 if half their guys are hurt. They have no depth anymore.
Yeah.
Boston's the favorite. There's no argument there. They're the Eastern Conference favorite. Probably the favorite to win the NBA title again. Them and OKC have the 2 best odds in the league to do that. But when I look at this Cavs team, obviously you know what you have in Donovan. And Darius had such a bad season for his standards last year. I don't know how he does. Like, some people are higher on Darius than others. I get it. Like, he's talented. Sometimes he's childish. He's up and down. He's kind of streaky. Not the greatest shooter in the world. Sometimes he shoots well. Sometimes he can't buy a bucket. I think last year was so bad that he's going to come into this season motivated to prove some people wrong. And that can go one of 2 ways. You could try too hard and start pressing and start trying to make things happen when it's not there instead of just allowing the game to come to you. And that could be a big negative for Darius Garland and the Cavs. On the other hand, if it's channeled properly, getting Darius back to the form of 2022, 23, or 21, 22, you put that alongside of Donovan with the ascension of Evan and some of the other pieces they have around him now. Like, that's a really scary team. And I go back and Kenny's the great unknown here, Jason, but every point guard that's ever played for Kenny Atkinson has flourished. Like, flourished. We're talking guys who have not been anybody's elsewhere in the league. Flourished. Spencer Dinwiddie got a massive bag for his time with Kenny Atkinson, and now he's been traded about 76 times since. D'Angelo Russell, all-star under Kenny Atkinson. The Lakers have tried to trade D'Angelo Russell for a bag of Lay's potato chips, and Lay said, no, we don't want him. Like, you keep him. Like, that 99-cent bag of chips is too valuable. We can't. The list goes on. Like, obviously Steph Curry was Steph Curry before he got there, but he worked with Steph Curry. Like, point guards in this system flourish. And I'm expecting big things from Darius. Maybe it's a little naive, but I refuse to believe last year was who Darius Garland is. And if you get back to even 80% of peak Darius Garland, that in this system with the pace and his shooting could be a really, really, really deadly combination for the rest of the league.
Yeah, Darius will not have the same role as some of those other guys that you mentioned, I don't think. But no. You're right. You're right that he does get the most out of point guards. And I think you're going to see a much different Darius Garland this year. I think he feels like he's probably a little bit embarrassed by how last year went, and he's got a lot to prove. And
Donovan, we haven't talked about him yet, but he's a top 15 guy in the league. They did the composites of all the preseason player rankings, and he came in 14th in the composite when you add them all together.
That sounds right.
Right around the right spot. If you want to argue 12, 13, 14, whatever, he's just outside the top 10, but in the top half of the next set of guys.
Yeah.
There's no reason. He's had his best 2 seasons in Cleveland of his career, back-to-back years. And last year, I thought he was on another trajectory to be an all-NBA player until the injury and the game limit fell beneath that, didn't make it. There's no reason he shouldn't be in contention for a second-team all-NBA spot again. Hell, maybe even a first-team all-NBA spot if things go his way and the Cavs win enough games. But another guy who, at least on paper and from a schematic standpoint of what we think Kenny Atkinson is going to want to run, he's going to be in a ton of positions to attack and succeed. And Jason, the one thing that I can't get out of my head is in this Atkinson offense, if Mobley and Garland are initiating the offense, like Donovan's not just going to stand in the corner like he had in the past. He's going to be used off ball. And one thing we didn't see a ton of from Donovan last year, or frankly throughout his entire career, is when he catches and gets to attack a closeout. Like, it happens just by nature of the game if someone drives and hits him in the corner.
Yeah.
But he's going to be put in a lot of positions to attack closeouts this season by Kenny Atkinson through the actual design of the offense. And he's one of the best players in the entire NBA at doing that. He's a good enough shooter where you have to close out hard. And that dude is so freaking electric when he gets one step. He's so quick and then dynamic when he decides to explode to the rim. I'm just thinking he's going to put 3 or 4 guys on a poster this year in ways we haven't seen since his Utah days. I'm just telling you right now, he's going to catch a couple guys in bad rotations off closeouts. And we're going to be like, oh, I forgot Donovan could do that. Like, this dude was in a dunk contest for a reason. And it's not for lack of athleticism. He hasn't been in a ton of positions to have those posterizing dunks. I think he's going to be in better positions based on the flow of the offense. And just mind you, when you see him blowing by bigs on the closeout, just remember who told you first. It's going to happen.
And not to mention the knee was apparently a hindrance throughout the second half of last season from the All-Star break on. And it really sapped, I think, a lot of the explosiveness. So just something else to keep in mind.
All right, Jason, last thing here before we wrap this bad boy up. Let's go through some of the bench guys, and you tell me if you trust them or if you still have questions.
Okay.
Because Kenny Atkinson said at Media Day, he said in the last couple days, like, this team's going to use its depth. And they have 11, 12 guys they believe can play at an NBA level. And during the regular season especially, they're going to utilize as much depth as possible to keep.
I don't know how you can play 11 or 12 guys. I don't know how you can do that.
I think he's going to try to. I genuinely think he's going to try to. The Celtics played 10 guys in the regular season last year. I guess 11's one deeper, but with injuries, you'll play 10 now, and Strus is the 11th, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
All right, so let's go through it. And these are in no order. I'm just naming names here. You ready? Trust him or no? Isaac Okoro.
No. I'd like to. Like we were talking about what size bag he was looking at getting last year, and instead he did not. And I just don't know. I don't know how much he's going to be used. I don't know. I don't know how much. I don't know how big of a role he's going to have.
I think he's their 12th man.
Yeah,
I think he's their 12th man. If he can't shoot, and in this system, unless he's going to play the 4, and I don't think he's big enough to play the 4. I don't know where he fits in. So I'm with you. I don't trust him. I think it's a good deal. You got him 3 years for just over $10 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps getting better, if he keeps working on a shot, he has improved his shot year over year. If that continues, you got a good deal.
I am not a huge Isaac Okoro guy, though. Karis LeVert, trust him or no?
Yeah, he's a veteran. I trust that one night he's going to give you 50 and the next night he's going to give you 5. I trust that. And I trust him because he's a veteran.
Yeah. I'm with you. I trust him. He's not perfect, but I do trust him. Sam Merrill. Do you trust Sam Merrill?
Not yet. There's just not enough of a track record. He was white hot for a few weeks there, and then he kind of fell off the face of the earth. So I can't say I trust him.
I love Sam Merrill. Sam Merrill's my NBA comp. Sam Merrill is who I always wanted to be as a basketball player, but was never fully able to accomplish. But he's got to do it for a little longer before I fully trust him.
I thought for sure you would be a trust him.
I trust him to do what he's probably going to get asked to do.
Yeah.
And I guess for the sake of this discussion, yeah, I trust Sam Merrill as a guy you can play in the regular season. I don't know if he's a real contributor when that rotation gets cut down, though. So for the sake of this right now, same with Isaac. He could play in the regular season fine. I don't trust him in the playoffs. I guess I'm projecting ahead. So he's a no for me at the moment. Who's up next? Craig Porter Jr. Let's do Craig Porter Jr. and Ty Jerome together because they're the two potential backup point guards.
One of them I don't think will be here after the trade deadline.
Do you know which yet? Which way you leaning?
Well, the way that they're pumping up Ty tells me it's going to be Ty because I think they're trying to inflate some trade value there. Because I just think they want to nip and tuck their way under the tax. And I think right now they're over the tax by a little bit. So I think that if I had to guess, I would guess right now that Ty will not be here after the trade deadline. But if he comes out and balls out, and Porter gets hurt, that could change. But do I trust him? I mean, Ty Jerome didn't play a minute last year with the most severe sprained ankle I think I've ever heard of in my life. I don't know that. I guess I would. They're not going to have a very big role, so it's hard. Like I don't trust them to play 28 minutes a night. No, but for that stretch in the second quarter, end of the first, into the second quarter, for 4 minutes, I trust them for that. Is that a cop out answer?
Yeah, 100%. But it's okay. Ty Jerome, it's impossible to say trust. No, Jerome's intriguing because he has size. He's a pretty decent defender. At least he was a pretty decent defender before he defended the anonymity of his injury last season to an incredible length. I still don't even know what was really wrong. Just was MIA. Porter Jr., I need to see his jump shot before he becomes a full trust. I do like what he brings. I trust Porter more than Jerome at the moment. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. They're going to make a trade at the deadline and be a mini seller because they're going to get under that luxury tax number, Jason. If there's one prediction I feel confident in this year, it's that when the deadline comes, they will be under the tax one way or another. How they get there, I don't know.
And
But
again, you're going to
it's
freak
coming.
people out saying they're going to be a mini seller. So, like you say, that we have to quantify this every time. Let's quantify it one more time. It's not because of the tax. It's not because you're selling. It's because you're waiting to start that clock as
Yes.
long as possible because the repeat offender tax is real. If they can wait until next year to start it, it makes a massive difference for down the road. We don't have to worry about it right now. Take us at our word on this. It makes a big deal 4 years from now about what they can do with the cap.
Yeah, and mini seller doesn't even mean trading it literally just is getting $2 million under that luxury tax
Just
number.
shaving
Whatever,
some,
just literally shedding a salary. And it's something, you know what they could also do, and who knows if they'll do it. And I'm making this up. This is purely, I'm just throwing it out. This is not reported. They could trade Allen for someone who makes $2 million less.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be like just selling. It could be an Allen for, ironically, Trey Murphy just signed a very similar contract to Jared Allen. I don't think New Orleans would trade Trey Murphy. That's not a great deal for a wing. Like his contract's Jared Allen's, but for a wing that can shoot. So I don't think that's going to happen. But theoretically speaking, they could trade a player for another player of bigger names as opposed to quote unquote selling.
Right.
That makes a little less to get under that luxury tax thing. Jaylon Tyson, the rookie. Jason, how do you feel about Jaylon Tyson?
You can't possibly trust him. He hasn't played a game yet.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah. And it's going to come back to bite me in the ass. I already know it. But there's something every time I watch Jaylon Tyson play, I pick up a little nuance that I didn't see the last time.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to be the next superstar. He's not a LeBron. He'll never make an all-star team, I don't think. But I think he could be a really, 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 really solid contributor on good teams throughout his career. He might be their most physical wing guy right now. He's 21 years old. Yeah, have you seen him in person yet, Jason? Have you had a chance to?
Oh, yeah.
He's built. It's at Media Day he was there. Yeah, like this ain't a twig. We talk about some of the Cavs guys needed to be stronger.
Yeah.
Jaylon Tyson's not in there. I told you guys when they drafted him, I had a Western Conference scout tell me and this is the team that picked in the top 10. We had 50 guys in for workouts. Jaylon Tyson was the strongest dude besides Zach Edey. It was Zach Edey won, and Zach Edey has 120 pounds on Jaylon Tyson.
Yeah.
And by the way, Zach Edey's a monster.
Yeah.
He's going to win Rookie of the Year. Jason, I told you beforehand, the same scout that told me the Jaylon Tyson thing was the one that told me that Zach Edey's going to be a baller. And I don't know if you've seen any of his preseason highlights. He looks the part.
Yeah.
He goes, Jaylon Tyson is an ox. He's like a little raw, but he plays hard as you know what.
Yeah.
He hustles. He's a great teammate, and basketball strength's relative. He may not bench the most. You don't move the dude off his spot. And that kind of physicality, I think, has a role, even if he's not the knockdown shooter the Cavs need. That kind of sheer physicality can give him positional versatility to play with almost any lineup the Cavs can assemble. Like you could find a spot with four guys around him in almost any lineup. And I think he's a good enough offensive player. I mean, he averaged 21.5 points last year. It's the only offensive threat on Cal in a legitimate power conference. It's not the greatest power conference. It's not the greatest basketball league in the world.
Right.
But he can be a little bit of a creator. His jump shot's still a little slow. But I like the way he's come on. I like the way he's developed. I like some of the nuances you see in his game. He just seems to be at the right spot at the right time. And once again, this is going to bite me in the ass. But I actually think I like Jaylon Tyson more than I like a lot of the other options on the bench right now.
I don't think that I think they want to bring him along slowly. I don't know how much of a role he'll have early on, but the Strus injury may change some things. I don't know that, but I'm just thinking out loud, talking out loud. I just wonder if Max going down will create a little bit more of an opportunity. Not that he's going to be the first off the bench, but create a little bit more of a role and a few more minutes for him than he would have had previously, because I don't think he was in store for much of a role right away before Max went down.
Yeah, I guess when we say, do you trust him to do what the coaching staff's going to ask him to do right away? And I think in what they're going to ask him to do, he's not going to be asked to be the primary creator. Like, he'll never be the first or second option offensively on the floor. But if he can run in transition, play defense, and rebound from the wing, which, God, we've been yelling for someone on the Cavs to do. Like,
yes,
hey, wings, you can rebound too. It's not all Jared and Evan every freaking possession. That's why when Max Strus had 9 rebounds and a triple-double late in the season, they threw him a damn championship parade in the locker room because they just don't do that. Yeah. Jaylon Tyson can do that, and I may be drinking a little bit of the Cavs Kool-Aid on this one, but I actually think I'm going to be on the right side of history when this is all said and done, that Jaylon Tyson is going to be a really valuable player for a long time in Cleveland, and if he goes elsewhere, wherever else he lands. We talked Dean Wade. George Niang coming off his postseason from hell. What do you think of George entering his second season with the Cavs?
If we're going by what you described, trust him to do what the coaches want him to do. Yes, I do. I know he was horrendous in the playoffs. Couldn't buy a bucket. It happened. Picked a bad time to have a bad time. But, he's still a veteran who is throughout his career been a knockdown, catch and shoot, 3-point shooter. I do think that he will be fine. He can't guard a dead body. So you got to keep that in mind. But if you're just looking for spacing and looking for someone who can bang threes, I do trust him to do that.
I do too. I know he's the punching bag of Cavs Twitter. He was horrific in the playoffs. He's the first to tell you on his own podcast. I'm not going to use the language he used to describe his own play, but trust me, he's well aware of how poorly he played. But the dude's been in a bunch of big situations before. Yes. The dude has been on winning teams his entire career.
Yes.
I think he's going to bounce back. And this new offense that wants to shoot more threes, and hell, they don't have other bigs. It's him and Tristan Thompson if Dean Wade's starting. That's it. That's your front court rotation, and I'll go first on Tristan Thompson. Yes, I trust him to do what the Cavs coaches are going to ask him to do, which is nothing. But do I trust him to be like a contributor in a big moment? Yes, if it includes yelling at the refs on the bench. No, if it includes anything to do with being on the court. Listen, steroid Tristan was awesome. Off the roids was not great. And unless they're just deciding not to test him again, can't imagine he's back on the juice, Jason.
Yeah, Tristan's my guy. I
love Tristan. Listen, he sat down with us at Media Day. We chatted. He asked me to take a picture of him for his snap. Cool dude. I like Tristan. But he's the Udonis Haslem of this team. And the Heat never had to count on Udonis Haslem to play. The issue is he's legitimately their only other big man, true big man right now. Yeah. So he's going to have to play, and that's an issue.
I've just was running the numbers. I've known Tristan for 14 years. That's
golly. You knew crazy. Tristan before the Kardashian version of him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I knew Tristan when he was just a kid from Brampton, Ontario. Just a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky, just a young – I had him his rookie year. I was Cavs beat writer when he and Kyrie came in together. So I've known him forever. Really like him. I don't know that you can trust him on the floor in big spots, though. If he's out on the floor in fourth quarter money minutes in a playoff game, something has gone tragically wrong.
Yeah. Okay, I just thought of a great segment real quick, and we'll wrap up soon. I know we've gone long.
Oh, you're good.
All right, Jason. Let's go through the Cavs team real quick. Or not go through, but wrap your head around this. If you could give steroids to one player on the Cavs to get the Tristan Thompson boost of last year, who would benefit? So, how much better you got to take into consider? How much better could they get than they already are? Donovan would be better, but do you need Donovan to be which Cav player would benefit the most from a cycle of PEDs to help this current team this year?
This is hysterical. Evan or Darius, actually. I'd give him to Evan or Darius. Because Evan's had some injuries. Darius has had a ton of injuries. Bulk him up a little bit, get him a little thicker. Probably Evan. If we're going to put all this on Evan and we're putting all this pressure on Evan and it's all about Evan this season, then give him a little extra juice too.
I'm going with Max Strus because PEDs can also make you grow a little bit. So maybe we could have a 6'7" wing for once. And if you told me that Max Strus was going to go from a 6'4", what is he, 190, 195? He's a pretty solid dude. He's not small by any means. Maybe 6'6", 215 with a wet jump shot coming off screens and being able to pick up on defense. I'll take the elevation at the 3 position to help even out the rest of the roster over Evan, who I think is going to make that jump anyway. We saw Darius and Evan at Media Day. Darius did look a little bigger now. Looked a little he's carrying some water weight. Could have just been, it's picture day, whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily look as chiseled. Evan, I don't think will ever look bloated in his life. No. He's just not built like that. But when I was talking to Kenny, which, can I say what happened? Am I allowed to say what happened during that? Cavs going to get mad if I say it?
No, go ahead.
I think they may have given us interviews when you were as far away as humanly possible, so you weren't.
That. I know what you're talking about.
Well, if I wasn't supposed to say that, scratch it from the record.
No, it's fine.
But as I was talking to Kenny, Darius walked by and dapped him up, and Kenny stopped and was like, "Hey, pan the camera over." We don't have a camera guy. It was literally just me and Zach. I'm like, Zach, move the camera. And he's like, look at Darius. Look how bigger he's looking. And Darius flexed. And I was like, hey, he did put on a little bit of weight. Like good for you. And that makes sense considering the fact he could eat solid foods again.
Right.
And he was like, do you know how hard it is to put on weight during the season? And that's what I don't think people realize.
Every guy loses weight. Every guy loses weight during the season.
Except LeBron. LeBron's the only player in the league who puts on weight during the season.
I don't know. I think every player loses 3 or 4 pounds during the season just because how much running you're doing.
And when you lose 12 pounds like he did when he broke his jaw, you can't get that. Like, you're just now 12 pounds lighter for the season.
Yes.
I'm not sure if he's bigger than where he was to start last year. I don't have a visual image of where he was to start the 2023-2024 season. But he did look significantly bigger than the last time we saw him. And I hope that bodes well. I hope he doesn't lose his quickness. I definitely had something he could sacrifice in terms of putting on strength. I think he needs that elite quickness to maximize what he does with the ball. But he certainly looked bigger, and that's a promising sign. So, Jason, let's wrap it up with this. The Cavs made the play-in, then they made the playoffs, then they won a playoff series. Will they continue the trajectory and make at least the Eastern Conference Finals this year? Will they win 2 playoff series and or more?
That is so matchup based. And obviously we have no way of knowing what the matchups are going to be. I will say another second round exit, but they have the potential to make a deeper run for sure. It just depends on how the matchups fall. But I would say right now, as we sit here, the East, I think, is going to be really good. I can't definitively say they're going to be any deeper than second.
I 100% agree with that. The matchups is what it all matters. It comes down to the matchups. It all comes down to the matchups. At the end of the day, if they have a good, favorable matchup, they could absolutely beat another team. But I'm going to take the odds and say they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals just based off how tough I think the East is. But they have the talent. I like their coaching staff. I think they did a really good job putting together a well-balanced and versatile coaching staff. They're going to be a better offensive team. They just can't take too many steps back defensively. And I don't care what any player says in preseason or during training camp. When you focus more on offense, your defense is going to slip. It's just natural. Trust me. When you're making shots, you don't want to play defense. It happened to me last night. It happens to all of us. But I think the Cavs are going to be a lot of fun. And I'm disappointed I won't be there Friday night. I'll be in Jersey for a wedding. But I'll be there Wednesday for the Lakers game, and I got a full season credential this year, so I'll be at a lot of games, and I'm excited for this Cavs season.
I am too. It's a nice welcome distraction from the mess that's going on the lakefront, and hopefully fans get plugged in early and enjoy a long, productive, successful Cavs season.
Can I introduce one more non-Cavs related subject here to end the show, Jason?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm watching Celtics Knicks as we talk.
Oh, I don't have my TV on because my internet's not good enough to.
And I have hockey on because I couldn't find anything worth watching for a second.
All right, so here's. I don't want to call it life advice because that's what Ryan Russillo calls the end of his podcast segment, which is terrific, by the way. If you don't listen to life advice, it's let's call it adult advisory.
Okay.
So I got to go to a wedding this weekend. It's one of my good friends. His name's Lucas Frankel. He is the most diehard Yankee fan in the history of the world. He watches every game. He lives, breathes, eats, sleeps every pitch. This dude is as locked in. If you're not a Cavs fan, you can turn it off now. If you want to laugh at something, stick around. This will be 2 minutes. The most diehard Yankee fan of all time.
Okay.
We're Jewish. To give you an example, we did a radio show back together in college, and he was telling us a story how the Yankees were playing the Rays on a random September. They'd already clinched the division, and they wanted to start Seder, which is the Passover dinner. But it was the 9th inning, and Mariano Rivera was coming in, and he wouldn't leave, and they wouldn't start without him. And he's like, his mom's yelling at him. He's telling the story. It's like, Ma, the gefilte fish can wait. Mariano Rivera's coming on. The gefilte fish can wait. It's not going anywhere. That's how like diehard Yankee fan is.
Yeah.
He has been dying for a World Series since 2009. His rehearsal dinner is Friday night. Game 1 of the World Series is Friday night.
Yeah.
His wedding is Saturday. Game 2 of the World Series is Saturday. He goes on his honeymoon Sunday to outside of the country.
Oh, wow.
Where guess what? They ain't going to really have, I mean, he can watch on his phone, but they ain't going to have a ton of, his wife hates sports.
They might be divorced before they get back from the honeymoon.
He asked me for advice, and I'm like, dude, you're asking the wrong person here. Like, I just divorced. I just canceled the wedding. Like, that's what I said. So, Jason, as someone who's married, please, what should I tell my boy here?
Boy, you really put me on the spot.
I told this is a.
I think that you need to show her what life is going to be like, and just power through and watch. It's 3 hours. There's 24 hours in a day. The games are 3 hours. She can sacrifice the 3 hours of the honeymoon because what time? Okay, so Fridays, he's got to have the game on his phone during the reception. Like, that's just
my job at the wedding is to provide him updates. He asked me specifically, I need you to update me throughout the ceremony. What's going on? Because I'm in the groom's part. I'm a groomsman.
Yeah.
So you had
the tux fitting today. Is the tux fit?
It was fitted. Yeah. I just had to pick it up. Yeah, it's all good. I was shocked there wasn't a Yankee insignia on it. I thought he was gonna make us all like that. He's that diehard. He really is. Always has been. So my job, it'll be on Friday at the rehearsal dinner. We're going to whatever restaurant. They have TVs. It'll be on there. So I'm not worried about Friday.
Yeah.
It's Saturday. I can't piss off the bride, but I have to sneak updates to him because I don't think she's cool with him watching on his phone during the wedding. But I'm worried about the honeymoon for him because
I watch the games, man. How often does the World Series come around? Hopefully this is your one and only honeymoon. Hopefully. Yeah. But I think you just need to set the standard early of where how this is going to go and what sports means to them. And it's 3 hours. It's 3 hours on the day. And how many days? So they leave Monday for the honeymoon?
I talked to him earlier. I forget.
Sunday or Monday? Game 3?
Game 3 is Monday.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, because Friday, Saturday is games 1, 2.
Well, if he has to miss game 2 because of
the wedding, yeah. I think he's accepted the fact the wedding's not going to happen. He's going to miss game 2 one way or another.
And he's missing game 3 probably because they're traveling.
It might be fine, yeah.
Oh. She has to understand at that point and let him have 4 and 5.
I'll pass that along.
I would negotiate the terms of the agreement, and he will not watch. He will get updates from you, but he will not watch during the wedding or the reception. And if he misses out on 3, she has to give him 4 and 5.
I like it. I'll pass it along. That was Adult Advisory brought to you by Jason Lloyd and FanDuel. If you have an NFL hunch, I have to do all the reads today. It's okay. We'll do them later tomorrow. But check out FanDuel, FanDuel.com/UCSS. Download the Game Time app, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Get tickets to the Cavs with $20 off with that promo code. Jason, this was 52 minutes of a Cavs preview and some life advice. We appreciate you, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Peace.
Yeah.